That's a lot to talk about. Mike Pompeo is here, Fox News contributor, former Secretary of State and CIA director under former President Trump. Great to have you in focus. Look, I gave a laundry list there. I'll take the cue from you and our audience, Will. What most should we be concerned about with China at this point?
Harris, thanks for having me on. You know, the things that you described are all things where China is inside the gates, right? So we talk a lot about the threat to Taiwan. We talk about the fact that they're literally holding people in internment camps in the western part of the country. These are all egregious. But the things that the American people need to be most focused on are the things that are happening here. These police stations, it's really worse than that. They are harassing American citizens who have friends and family members back in their country. They're trying to get them to come back so they can hold them in detention and question them. This is inside of our country. This isn't something that's happening in some faraway place. And this espionage effort, Harris, this isn't new. The American people should remember that I directed the closure of the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. They were stealing some of America's most important secrets under diplomatic cover. And the United States had known about it for a while and had done nothing until we were there. This is indecent. It steals millions of jobs from America. They've stolen billions of dollars of intellectual property. And these national security issues that affect every American at home are the things we should be most focused on.
Do you think China wants to go to war with us?
No, I don't think they want to do it militarily, but I fear that we should listen to Xi Jinping a little more closely in that he has been at economic war with us for an awfully long time already. Never underestimate the economic element of the national security of the United States of America. They've put 300,000 students in our universities. This virus, you mentioned this virus came from this lab. I talked about it in March of 2020 and was excoriated as a racist for doing so. These are efforts to undermine our way of life here inside the United States. And so the model that we need to have is one of deterrence. And you began talking about President Biden not talking to Xi Jinping. It wouldn't surprise me if the Chinese are refusing to take that call. I don't know. But it is certainly the case that President Biden needs to be laying out very clearly the things that matter to the United States of America.
Well, from even CBS reporting, recently one of their anchors had spoken about what could happen with Taiwan. The head of the Air Force was someone that she was talking with. And even then there was an acknowledgement that the militaries were no longer talking ours and theirs.
Yeah, Harris, that's not good. These red phones, these backdoor channels to make sure that there's not a miscommunication or mistake are really important. We worked hard on that in the Trump administration to make sure that we always had a way that if something went bump in the night or there was an incident, we could make very clear what we were doing and what we weren't doing or get that from them. I hope that's still alive. I suspect that it still is. But Harris, we should never underestimate that if we undermine our own nation, if our military isn't focused on its core mission, if we're conducting DEI training instead of making sure our pilots can fly their aircraft, this puts the deterrence model at risk and puts our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines' lives at risk as well. And Xi Jinping knows that.
Yeah, I mean, and the way you put it, it's diplomacy is what you're applying here. But make no mistake about it, our enemies get it. Our militaries have to talk, you said, to make sure there's no miscommunication or mistake. I mean, they might want to call it a mistake, but they're looking at those shipping lanes outside of Taiwan. You know they have a plan.
Oh, they have a plan, Harris. You're absolutely right. It is a deep plan. We've seen this with their expanded efforts around Taiwan. Begin to think about how do you board ships? How do you close this off? How do you make it hard for the South Koreans, the Japanese, the Australians, and the Americans to sail in the Pacific? No, Xi Jinping has been pretty clear about the great struggle, he calls it the great rejuvenation of China. His intentions are deep, and America can get this right. Harris, this isn't a lost cause. We often make it sound like they're 10 feet tall. We can get this right, but it's going to take enormous American leadership, real resolve, and transparent, honest communication with the American people about each of these risks.
Well, look, I got to tell you, and I don't think I'm alone in this, just having grown up military, sometimes you need several people in the room. You need like a situation room to meet with an enemy like Xi. I wish you were going with Biden. Somebody else in the room when they do talk. For a whole host of reasons, for all of those that we've laid out. It's a lot. All right. God bless this country. Great to have you in focus. Thank you.